the right to have such a banger soundtrack. An angry red tomato face all the time. We love the gals. And there's some dark themes happening. I know it's a fairly accurate depiction of a child, but like, I don't know what the Tinkerbell movie's budgets were, but... Hi guys, I know what you're thinking. Another Rants. Yeah, I tried. I really did. My computer decided to be finicky, and so I couldn't get things recorded for a cover, and the AMV things are probably the most long-winded editing process of the kinds of videos that I do. And it's been a week, and this is the first time for the entire week that I have felt any kind of productivity. So here we are. We have another Rants. I promise I will try my darndest to make sure the next one isn't, because I know that my channel my audience for Nerd Rants is much smaller than the rest of my channel's stuff. So yeah, we'll try for it not to be another Nerd Rants. But anyway, here we are. I have I rewatched something again. So again, not necessarily a first time thing to rant about, but it's been probably a few years since I have watched these. So it's similar to the first time. And it's something I've never talked about, but I should, because it's in a vein of movies akin to like Barbie and all of that, where I watched them as a child, and it's the girliest thing I grew up on. And yeah, they deserve to be talked about. So we're here to discuss not the Barbie movies, excuse me. We're here to discuss the Tinkerbell movies. I rewatched them because I ran across Welchie reacting to the Tinkerbell movies, and it got me into the vibe of into the mood of wanting to rewatch them. So I hunted down where to watch them, and here we are. I have binged all 5 movies. I didn't watch any of the shorts like Pixie Hollow Games or anything, but I rewatched the 5 movies. And here we are to talk about them. First of all, these soundtracks go way harder than they have any right to. Like, those songs are way better than they have any right to be. Who gave them the right to have such a banger soundtrack? Seriously, it's ridiculous, especially Legend of the Never Beast. Like, are you kidding me with Legend of the Never Beast? Every single song in there is a banger. It's so good. So yes, music, especially all the original songs, they're just absolutely wonderful, and it's insane, and it's great. Also, just these movies are surprisingly, like, unironically great movies. They're so enjoyable. Yeah, I have a good time every single time I rewatch them. It's so good. Like, the characters are great. Tinkerbell's development over the 5 movies, as she, like, because in the first movie she's born, and then so seeing her mature over the movies is very interesting. You kind of see how she starts to mellow out and mature and become more of a rational person and not an angry red tomato face all the time. So good. Their relationships are so wholesome. Like, the girl group, we love the gals. They're wonderful. They're all just so supportive and great. We love the gals. Terrence doesn't get enough screen time, but his relationship with Tinkerbell, whether it be platonic or romantic, I'm not a hardcore shipper in a lot of fandoms, so I don't mind that it's not clearly stated, but I do think he didn't get enough screen time, and their relationship in either respect is great, and I would love to see more of it because it is great. And just like wholesome, supportive guy character. yes please. And the characters are good. The plots are surprisingly they get surprisingly dark by the last couple movies, as far as some of the themes. They start out just kind of fun and childish, and they have to get the seasons to do whatever and running into a human and things like that. And then we get to the fourth and fifth one, and there's some dark themes happening. So seeing the progression of how they start to mature the plots as well, also very cool. Yeah, it's just cool origins, cool stories, kind of like just the world itself, the talents and the fairies and the different realms for the seasons, and just the world of Pixie Hollow and the talents of the fairies and kind of that fairy lore that we get is very interesting to me. So it's always very fun. Yeah, if I had to rank them, oh, excuse me, are there 5 or 6? There's 6 movies, excuse me. I forgot about Pirate Fairy. 6 movies. If I had to rank them, Secret of the Wings is probably at the top, followed fairly closely by Never Beast and Pirate Fairy. And then the first one and Lost Treasure are pretty close as well. And then Great Fairy Rescue is probably at the bottom. It's probably got the weakest plot, and I know it's a fairly accurate depiction of a child, but Lizzie's kind of annoying. Just a little bit, and especially in the moment where she's just sitting there and she's found a fairy and got Tinkerbell in her fairy house, and she goes up to her dad and she's like, Father, 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 for a solid 30 seconds, and I'm just it's too much. It's too much. So yes, unfortunately, yeah, Great Fairy Rescue is probably my least favorite, just for Lizzie. She's a little bit annoying. But video growth in that movie is always great though. We'll sort of go through the first one. And just kind of a fun plot, introduces you to the world, introduces you to the characters, sets up some of the relationships, those kinds of things. The second movie, we get some more fairy lore with the Moonstone and the blue pixie dust, and we get a legend from it, with a storytelling that is far too cool for a Tinkerbell movie. I don't know what the Tinkerbell movie's budgets were, but the whole story sequence where the theater fairy girl, I don't know what her talent technically is telling the story of the wishing mirror. I forget what it's called, but the mirror that grants a wish. The sequence is just far too cool for a Tinkerbell movie. It's great. It's so good, and her voice is so good. I wish she would have been narrator for the entirety of the movies, because her voice is great for narrating, for the kind of song talk storytelling thing. Oh, it was so good. That scene was probably the highlight of the entire movie. But also we get Terrence and Tink's relationship a little bit, and Tink kind of getting some growth with her anger. We get Blaze, who's just adorable. So it's a very good movie. And it's probably slightly higher than the first one, just because there's a little more of a set plot with stakes, whereas the other one's Spring's in danger, and it's kind of just the origin story, and then this one we get more of a flat plot. I don't know if that makes any sense. So that's a little bit higher than the first one. Yeah, Great Fairy Rescue, we got video growth. That's kind of the only really good part of it. The rest is kind of meh, and Lizzie's annoying. Then we have Secret of the Wings, top tier movie, absolutely love it. I have it on DVD now. It's so good! It brings up probably the biggest plot hole in the entire universe with the Winter Fairies, because in the first one, it's she's Tinkerbell's, you know, finding her talent, and they have the winter fairies just chilling in, oh, I forget where the pixie dust tree is. Summer, I believe. Yeah, the pixie dust tree is in summer. And we have them bring their little snowflake for her to try and pick her talent. And they're just chilling in summer. And the whatever, I don't know if she'd be called minister or whatever. So we have a female representative for winter. And that's just, I mean, it's a very background thing, but it's there, and the winter fairies are just there, and Hank and Bobble are giving her a tour, and they fly through winter. And then in Secret of the Wings, we have the whole, like, crossing the borders, forbidden, it's too cold for warm fairies, too warm for cold fairies, and that very, very cool idea and that divide and this very logical sense of, like, you were born in the cold, so you've adapted to the cold, you were born in the warm, you've adapted to the warm, we can't cross because we were not, it's not the same environment, it's a very different environment. And winter, despite its beauty, is the harshest season of all of them. So having that is super, super cool. Plot hole from the first movie, but otherwise, very, very cool, and I prefer that, and I overlook the plot hole because the concept and the story that comes out of it is so flippin' cool, and I love it. Yes. Tink and Periwinkle's relationship is absolutely wonderful. I love it. I love how, I love their similarities and their differences and how they bond and how they're just like, I love them. They're great. If I had to pick between them, Periwinkle is better. Periwinkle is 100% a better character than Tinkerbell. Though Tinkerbell, that at least from the beginning. Because we have the beginning with Tinker being this, you know, very angry, quick to anger, snappy girl, and then grows into this. So it's cool to see the maturing of Tinkerbell. So we don't get to see that in Periwinkle. So we don't know if she was a hothead in her youth, but both the maturity level that they're at now, I just prefer Periwinkle. I don't know what it is. I just really like Periwinkle. Maybe I just like the winter fairies. I'm kind of a winter girl. So yeah. I like Periwinkle and Tink's relationship. I love the basically twist on the forbidden love trope where it's sisterly versus romantic, and them crossing and finding ways to cross, and it's so good. The whole ice machine causing a freeze is a little bit of a plot convenience, just a little bit, but we overlook it because it's so good. And then we have the whole big climactic ending where everything's freezing and they have to save the pixie dust tree and all of that, and Tink breaks a wing, and then they're sisters and they're identical so they can fix it. Oh, it's such a good movie. We also get Lord Balori and Queen Clarion's relationship, which is we get very little screen time of them being like a thing. It's just like the last 5 minutes of this movie, and then brief scenes in the next one where we have any kind of like, oh, they're together, but it's so good. We get like their story told on either end where they're like telling their story, but it's not like theirs because they're not naming each other, but like it's so good. I ship them the hardest and they have the least amount of screen time. Maybe it's the only thing I'm supposed to ship. I don't know, but I ship it. It's I don't know. It's great. I love it. That one's just the stereotypical forbidden love trope. Anyway, so Secret of the Wings, favorite, so good. Periwinkle, the winter fairies, the whole divide, how that works, so good. Next we have Pirate Fairy, which is definitely below Secret of the Wings. Might be below Never Beast, just by a little bit. They're very, very close. Never Beast just might be slightly higher because of the ending. But anyway, Pirate Fairy, we are going through Zarina. Zarina's a very cool character, and having the pixie dust alchemy, that's just a very cool concept, and that was probably my favorite part of the movie, was just this idea of pixie dust alchemy and how they can how Zarina experiments with things to figure out how to make new kinds of pixie dust, and switching their talents. That's the coolest part of the movie to me, because it's creating like a new magic system, basically. We're watching the birth of this magic system. And then we don't get to see her develop it, unfortunately. We jump to when she's kind of mastered it, and then they have to fight off basically prepubescent Captain Hook. So we get his origins and the Chicken Crocodile's origins, which is like, oh, cool, fun and dandy. But honestly, for me, the pixie dust alchemy is what makes the movie so good. And just all of that. And Zarina has a pretty good character. So that's really the biggest parts of Pirate Fairy that I liked, were the pixie dust alchemy and Zarina's character. So yeah, and then finally, Legend of the Never Beast. Okay, this is where we probably get some of the darkest themes and the plot, because yeah, Secret of Things had broken wings, which is incurable injury. That's pretty dark. Pirate Fairy, not quite as much again. And then Legend of the Never Beast. Literal death. Death is the stakes here. Death has never been the stakes. The only stated stakes has been, we'll never fly again. The pixie dust will be destroyed. And that's kind of been the theme. No, in Legend of the Never Beast, literal death, like Pixie Hollow is in threat of being completely destroyed by a green lightning storm. And we have Gruff, who is honestly really adorable. Pre-horns and wings. I don't like horns and wings version of him as much. But before that, like normal form Gruff is absolutely adorable. Also, we get focused on Fawn. Personally, Fawn's my favorite. Maybe it's just because I like animals. So Fawn's one of probably my favorite fairy. Between her, Silver Mist, and Vidya. Like her, Silver Mist, and Vidya are probably my top 3. So yeah, focusing on Fawn, very fun. I found out upon rewatching it, I realized that her voice actress is Jennifer Goodwin? I think that's her last name. But the one who voices Judy Hopps and the late woman who is Snow White in Once Upon a Time. So that was fun. But anyway, that whole, the whole story of her connecting and her being this oddball even among the animal fairies because she wants to help the animals that everyone thinks are too dangerous is so fun. And I love seeing how the story reacts in her relationship with Gruff. And being like, no, I refuse to believe you're this monster that everyone thinks you are. I think you're here to save us, and all of that. And then the ending scene where he has to go back into hibernation is just heart-wrenching. It's so sad. And the reprise of Strange Sight, just, again, like I said, the songs in The Legend of the Never Beast are bangers, all of them. Like, Float at the beginning, so good. Strange Sight, so good. And then 1,000 Years during the credits, also so good. So yeah, the music is spot on, and the reprise of Strange Sight is just very sad. So yeah, the only qualm I think I really have with Legend of the Never Beast is, and it's not a huge thing. They pull it off pretty nonchalantly and fairly well, but they introduce the Scouts, which again, it's a little bit of a plot hole because the Scouts weren't a thing in any of the other movies, but it's just like, it's not a huge thing. They just didn't necessarily have to play a role. The only time they probably would have then played a role is in the first one when the Hawk attacked. That would really be the main part where the Scouts would have made an appearance in any meaningful way throughout the movies. So it's like smaller plot hole, but still a little bit of a plot hole. We overlook it. But the real issue, it's not a huge issue, but it was I noticed all of the Scouts are girls. Every single one of them. Not a huge problem. Like, yeah, cool girls, they kick butt, awesome. They're not like the modern strong female character or anything. They're decent characters. They have flaws. They have complexities. Cool. But all of them are women. There are male fairies. We know this. We see 1 or 2 of them in this movie. So the focus, like the lack of male fairies in the Legend of the Never Beast caught my eye upon rewatching it this time. Which, you know, took me like 2 or 3 times watching it to notice this. So they clearly did a fairly good job of not being super blatant about it, but I feel like they pushed the feminism of this a little bit by not including as many male fairies in general, and literally none of the scouts were guys, which in my opinion doesn't make sense. I don't know how like fairy anatomy works, but as humans, guys are just physically stronger. That's just a fact. They will be stronger because that is how the DNA and the biology and all of that and the anatomy is built. That's just how guys are built. They're stronger than females. Like stereotypically speaking. So I don't know how fairy anatomy works and if that's reversed, but I feel like it just doesn't make sense that there are male and female of every other talent except scout fairies. I don't know. Anyway, just something I noticed, and it wasn't enough to like annoy me for the entire movie. I just like, they'd come on screen and be like, why are there no guys? I just noticed it every time they came on screen. So not massive complaint, but like probably my only issue with this franchise. But at the very end, they're just like, no, only female warriors. And I'm like, okay, no, but okay. So yeah, that's super quick thoughts of these movies. Like there's not a whole lot to discuss. They are like, they're kids movies, so they're fairly like surface level. There's not too much in-depth stuff. I think the deepest of the movies is Secret of the Wings, which is part of the reason it's probably top tier. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the Tinkerbell movies. Feel free to rant with me in the comments about it. They're just so fun. But yeah, I enjoy these movies. And yeah, I just ruined my whole closing there. Yeah, drop your thoughts in the comments. I post videos on this channel on Saturdays at the moment. Again, I have no idea when that'll change. I feel keep posted. I post videos on the audiobook channel on Thursdays. And again, heads up, starting this next week, I'm doing a little bit of a different, I don't know if I want to say framework or style for my videos for the next couple weeks. Check out my last community post if you're curious about how, why, what's going on with that. But it will look slightly different for the next couple weeks as far as content is concerned. But yeah, I'll see you all next time.